Thanks. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Zara Durrani. I welcome you to Life and Style with Zara on Ruckus Avenue. And you can also hear us on Dash Radio. Ruckus Avenue is North America's #1 South Asian radio station. Today, joining me is a very inspirational young traveler who I met in Uzbekistan with World Influencers Congress last summer. Jordan Taylor, welcome. Jordan Taylor is an amazing YouTuber who has over 45 million views. And the reason why we connected so much is because she's been to my home country, Pakistan, many times. I have never met someone from North America who knows so much about Pakistan, and you have been to some places I've never even stepped on. Jordan, welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. I have my coffee here. I'm just staying at home, and oh, you have yours too.
So Jordan, you started your journey 4 years ago. Tell me about the process of how this started and what inspired you to, quite often we've had some conversations over WhatsApp and Instagram, and I've told you how much you inspire me, how brave I think you are, and how I love the way you create your short films. There are these beautiful pieces of art. Like, how did your life steer in this direction? It's so brave for someone from the US to go to all these interesting places, these cities and villages. Like, what switched that you said, I need to go and explore these parts of the world?
Yeah, well, I think that I grew up reading a lot of books. I always loved reading adventures about Egypt and history and just a lot of places all over the world. And I always dreamed of traveling. But I didn't really know about this lifestyle of people traveling full time and making money out of that, making a career out of that. So I did try to always have a very adventurous life and make my own adventures. But then I kind of thought, okay, I need to be an adult and do grown-up things like, get a corporate job and everything and have the apartment and get a raise and get a car. And I just always felt like it was so pointless. And I would get promotions and I was making a good amount of money living in Miami. And I just didn't feel successful at all. I didn't feel like it was fulfilling, that it had any real value to me because it wasn't what I was passionate about. And I wanted to be traveling and having adventures. So one day I actually found travel YouTubers, and that's like what inspired me. So I started binge watching travel YouTube videos, and I decided that's what I want to do. So I sold my car, I sold my apartment, I sold like everything that I owned, and quit my job. They were really shocked because it just kind of came out of nowhere. And I bought a plane ticket to Spain and I left. That was the beginning.
So if you don't mind me asking, how old were you when this happened? And had you been watching those YouTube videos, the travel YouTubers, like for a while?
No, I hadn't been watching them for a while. Maybe a few months. But I don't know, I was in my early 20s. Yeah, I was recommended to watch them through a friend who said, oh, well, look up traveling the world for free or traveling long-term, which I didn't even know there was such a thing. And yeah, it kind of just started this whole thing. Like as soon as I did like one Google search, I remember I was just like, it clicked. I was like, yes, I want to try and do this.
And tell us about, because you obviously make all these beautiful, beautiful films is what I would call them, is the best way to describe, and you narrate, and they're very poetic, they're very romantic. I love your voice,
Oh, thank you.
the way you edit them. Was that all self-taught?
Yes, completely self-taught. I My videos haven't always been like that. If you go watch my early videos, they're terrible. Um, I'm just like so awkward in front of the camera, and I didn't know how to film or anything. But I guess that makes me all the more proud of where my work is now, because I always try to be improving with it. And I think that right now, at this point, I feel the best about my content that I'm creating, because I've always considered myself a writer rather than I guess, cinematographer or filmmaker. So in doing the vlogs, I always kind of felt like they weren't really me. And if I could have been able to write them as a book or a story, then they would have been more me, which was fine. It was a way to challenge myself. But once I kind of started putting more storytelling into my work and, writing a cinematic script for the video, it just really felt so right to me. And I'm trying to incorporate that more in my videos. And yeah.
That's beautiful. Now, if you're just tuning in, joining me now is Jordan Taylor. She makes beautiful films about countries that you probably have not been to, places like Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Egypt. She's been all over the world. She was recently named Official Tourism Ambassador of Egypt. She has over 550,000 followers and over 45 million views. So Jordan, tell me the process of editing and storytelling for you. Like, I've seen some of your films that you've made when you were in Pakistan, my home country. You've been to Pakistan many times. Tell us the process of you showing a different side of Pakistan than what the people are used to seeing on television.
Well, with Pakistan in particular, when I traveled there, I mean, it's such a beautiful country in so many ways. The people, the history, just the scenery, everything is so beautiful. And I really, really wanted with my Pakistan series to be sure that I told the story, in a way that lived up to this amazing experience that I had had there, especially because I knew people watching were not going to be familiar with Pakistan as what I had seen, how amazing it was. And I really worked hard on those videos. My videos take around 50 plus hours to edit. Those videos probably took me like 70, 80 hours each, just because I was trying, I really just wanted to get them right. And I did try to, weave this whole story through the entire series and recurring characters. And, like this driver that I met, he was driving me through northern Pakistan, and he ended up being kind of a character in the series. Like, he sang a song for me, and it had this very special meaning. And then I tried to incorporate that storytelling into the video, because it was it was a really special moment. He sang the song and then translated what it meant for me, and then he performed it again for me on my last night there. And I try to in editing just find like what is the story of the place, maybe it wasn't just my experience, like the history, the local people there. I always want there to be like a story to the video, something more than just, oh, I'm here and like I'm eating this, and like that's great, but I want there to be some storytelling and for people to really feel something.
And I think it really, really comes across in the work you do. For me, when I look at your work, it's very much like documentary filmmaking, and it's feminine, it's very fluid, and I love you know, even sometimes I've heard you like read out poems, and the way the music and your drone shots and all of that. I want to talk about when you first started this journey back in the
Hmm.
day in Miami, when you said to yourself, okay, I'm going to travel, I'm going to do this. What kind of equipment did you take? And how was that process for you? You know, teaching yourself how to film, you know, what kind of camera? Because a lot of times when people watch YouTubers, you know, like, of course, people are endorsed too, which is good because it helps them, you know, the sponsorship and stuff. But a lot of people I've spoken to, like Alex, and even in Uzbekistan, they're like, oh, this is just from this camera, or someone's just shooting from their iPhone. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's not this big production that someone on the outside would think. So tell us what you first started with.
I first started with a tiny point and shoot camera. I mean, smaller than my phone. A Canon G7X. It's like a $600 camera. So I remember I ordered it in the mail. I was so excited. And that's all. That's all I had. I mean, it was a little camera that could just fit in my pocket. And that is all that I built my channel on for years. I think I only got more cameras and started, you know, upping the equipment and the quality of the cameras when I had maybe 100,000 followers. So it was quite a while in. And at first I was really embarrassed to talk about that because I felt like, oh, if people knew that I only have this little camera, they won't take me seriously. Like, I started getting hired for film jobs. I got hired for a film job in Guatemala. I got hired for a film job in China. And these were like pretty big productions. Like, they're coming and getting me in a car, in a limo, and like taking me, and there's, well, this isn't a tiny town in China, so it sounds more exciting than it is, but they had like, you know, a crew for me, and I was like, I can't show up with just a little G7X. Like, so I actually took a DSLR that I wasn't even like really filming with, just to make it look like more legitimate, because I don't think people really understand that you can still make these high quality this high quality content with just a tiny little camera. Because if what you're filming is good, you take, you know, good shots, it's completely possible. And with editing and the storytelling, it's 100% doable. So if somebody doesn't have a big camera yet, that is no problem at all.
Wow. And do you edit all your content yourself?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And do you feel that that's really important for you to edit it yourself because you were there? And, you know, yes, a lot of story is told through visual images, but of course, the major portion is actually told through the editing.
Yes, I feel like the editing is my art form. It's like, and I have thought to myself, you know, because it does take so long for me to edit my videos, when maybe I need to be out filming more, and it's kind of this this difficult wall. It's like almost a plateau that's hard to grapple with, because as my editing gets better, it takes more time. But I can't, you know, go out and film if I'm editing for 80 hours a week. So it's just this balance that I've had to get used to as the editing time has gone up. And I remember thinking about, you know, hiring an editor, because it's scaling your business, right? And maybe I will in the future, just for certain things, but I would always have to do at least a lot of the editing myself, I think, because it's like an art form. I tell people, it's like, okay, if you tell someone to, if you hire someone to paint a picture of a dog, and you tell them, I want a picture of a dog or cat, and they paint it, is that yours? Like, no, that's theirs. That's their art. So that's how I feel. Yeah, because I just put a lot of my own story and my own thoughts into the video, my own emotions and what I felt.
You're the
So,
director, you're the creator and the filmmaker.
yeah,
And you're just
yeah.
employing someone to be like, okay, this is the task, X, Y,
Mm-hmm.
Z. And this is all self-taught, like the filming, editing, everything. I mean, I guess a lot
Yes.
of these questions I'm asking is actually for my benefit, because as around a lot of our WhatsApp conversations. You know, I found you to be very inspiring. I've
Oh,
sat
wow.
and like watched your YouTube videos, and you know, I remember yours. For anyone who's just listening to this, Jordan is very young. She's really beautiful. And, you know, I remember meeting you in Uzbekistan, and we really only got to connect at the end of our journey. And,
Right.
you know, and during that, we were all traveling so much that I didn't really get a chance to be like, okay, who is this person? And then afterwards, seeing your work and being so impressed by your travels and how brave and courageous it is to do that, like by yourself. Tell us about your connection with Egypt and, you know, being the ambassador. And you've been to Egypt many times.
Yes, many times. I've always loved Egypt. I've been fascinated with it since I was a little girl, and I remember that one of my mom's friend, brought over a stack of books like this tall, because I mentioned in her hearing that I was interested in history, and she said you should read about ancient Egypt. So she brought over these stacks of books, and I was just obsessed. Like I was obsessed with ancient Egypt, like some kids are obsessed with, I don't know what, Pokemon or something. I was like day and night talking about ancient Egypt, and my parents were, I would go to the museum and read the hieroglyphs, and the museum guides or tour guides would be like, what is this little girl, like she's reading the hieroglyphs? And yeah, so I had,
Read the hieroglyphs?
yeah,
You
some of them,
think?
not fluently, but yeah.
Wow.
um yeah, so
And
I was just,
you taught yourself how to do that, Jordan?
yeah, I was just researching and researching and researching it for many years. Um, so obviously, I always dreamed of going to Egypt, and I finally went in, it must have been 2017, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It feels like home to me. It feels like it was just indescribable. It almost like changed me as a person to go somewhere and be so happy. Like I was just so excited every day to be alive there. And yeah, I really fell in love with the country. So I made the videos, and just with my little G7X, that's it. And I guess it showed, because they invited me back. Egypt did, and the Minister of Tourism, first female Minister of Tourism, her name is Rania Al-Mashat. She was the tourism ambassador at the time, Minister of Tourism, sorry, and she said she wanted to meet with me. And I was, so excited, because I was like, oh my gosh, like what? She's coming to my hotel? Like what? So she came and she met with me, and she said she wanted to name me Egyptian tourism ambassador. And I was so proud. And yeah, that was a really special moment for me.
That's so wonderful, and it's so beautiful. And, you know, these are the kind of conversations and the type of people that I want to interview and have conversations with, because you're walking down an unfamiliar path, you know? I'm sure a lot of your friends and family members and relatives would be like, what is this girl doing? Why doesn't she just get this life? And you're living this life on your own terms. How many countries have you been to in total so far?
I don't know. The last I counted was like 37, so it's probably around 40 right now. Yeah.
And tell us about, we met in Uzbekistan. What was Uzbekistan like? And was it on your list of places to visit before you went there?
Oh yes, it actually was. Like I was actually planning my own trip to Uzbekistan, and I was just going to go on my own, pay for everything. And I was really planning that because I saw I found out about Uzbekistan through a girl named Jagi, Diary of a Nomad, on Instagram. Her photos are just absolutely magical, and I was inspired to go because of her. And around the time that I was researching and planning for the trip, the World Influencer Congress contacted me, and they were like, oh, can you come to Uzbekistan? And I was like, yeah, that's perfect. So I was so excited. And you have been there. Uzbekistan is one of the most amazing, magical, underrated places that I have ever been to. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's like out of Arabian Nights. It's different, it's unique, it's just incredible.
Now, what advice would you give to people who are wanting to follow in your footsteps? In terms of, perhaps someone has a dream, they want to travel more, they want to be a travel blogger, whether they want to dedicate a year to traveling or do it full-time like you, what kind of advice would you give to someone just starting out?
Well, for traveling in general, I would say that the most important thing is to just, realize that there's never going to be that perfect moment to go travel. I've talked to so many people who say, oh, I want to do what you're doing. I want to, oh, but I have my job, I have my this or school. And of course you have to prioritize and do what's best for you. But at the same time, like, life is going to keep happening. And if you don't make that first step, then, there's never really going to be a right time when your job is like, hey, do you want to take a year off and not go do this? And, oh, I have no plans. Why don't I go? So there's always going to be kind of some sort of sacrifice. And I think also just people shouldn't be afraid to go and start traveling. Go alone if you have to. If no one wants to come with you, just go by yourself. You'll be fine. And, for the social media thing, I think as well, just start and keep with it. Because I have talked to so many people that say they want to do YouTube, they want to do a blog, Instagram. I say, yeah, just keep posting. Doesn't matter if you aren't ready. It doesn't matter. Just start posting and keep improving. But the most important thing is to start. And I have, told this to a lot of people. Probably 100 people, let's say, have said they want to start something. Say, okay, do it. Only 3 or 4 of those 100 have actually started. And only one of those people that I am aware of has actually stuck with it. And now she has 150,000 subscribers. She didn't get them all, in the first month, in the first year. She had to keep going with it. So obviously it has to be something that you're passionate about, that you want to do, and that you are dedicated to. And then you very well might succeed. And even if you don't, you have these beautiful memories and you went for it.
The experience of it. The first person that I interviewed for the podcast last week was Pam Grout. Now, she's written 20 books so far, and she's #1 New York Times bestselling author. And she actually planted the seed in my brain that you don't need to have millions of dollars in the bank to travel. That how I could use my social media as a clout for traveling, and that there's always a way around to doing things, that if you have passion, you can do it. Like for me, moving to Paris, I lived 2 years in Paris and traveling all over Europe and such. Everyone asks, oh, how much money did you have? Oh, did you have a boyfriend there? Do you speak French? No. The answer was no to everything. And sometimes, how do you feel, Jordan, that when you put yourself out in the universe and you have a passion and a desire for something, that somehow magically things happen? Tell me about that. Have you had those experiences in your life? And I find that happens much more when you're traveling and you're on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do feel like, there have been times when YouTube is very up and down, and you never know when the next project is coming up. And sometimes, in the past, maybe I didn't have the money, or I wasn't sure, like, how is the next thing I don't have anything coming up and I'm not sure what, and just something always works out. And I do feel like, I always just was like, well, it doesn't matter, like, I'm passionate about what I'm doing and I'm going to keep doing it and I'm going to love doing it no matter what. And it's not easy. It's not always this, you know, dream happy music in the background. It's hard work, but I love it so much. And I do feel like, yeah, I mean, these amazing projects that I've gotten to be a part of, I mean, the series that I made in Pakistan, just getting that project, everything with Egypt, WIC, where I met you. Like, I just feel so lucky to have been involved in all of these things. And yeah, something always comes up.
I think it's also trusting in the universe, that trusting that things will come together. And, you know, I want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that. I've spoken in my past episodes, and people who listened to my past show, Life in Savazara, that was on 4 networks across Canada. And I didn't go to film school. You know, I was just a high school graduate. I had no leadership training, and I had 30 people working under me and me telling them.
Oh my gosh.
But I think it's the thing of being so powerful to say that I feel like trust is really important, and, you know, passion is really important. And then just trusting that if you're on the right path, things will happen. Tell me
Yeah.
about that, what that has been like for you, and then now monetizing it, you know, because we can have a passion and a dream, and then you're obviously traveling and making these projects like in China and in other places, in Egypt and Pakistan, where people are so, you didn't go to school to study film, you just did it. And there was this, you know, this blind faith that things will just happen. Like, tell me about that process, because I think it's also, as much as it's an outward journey, it's also an inward journey of trusting that it's going to happen. Right people, right places, the job, the money, everything will align. Like, I want to know that inward thinking and how that is for you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just sometimes when things would be hard and I wasn't really sure, or I felt this lack of direction, I would just really remember, well, this is, you know, this is my passion and this is my dream that I'm getting to do now. And I just go back to that. And, you know, as long as I keep creating the best work that I can, things that I feel have value, you know, there's beauty, there's inspiration to what I do, and just how passionate I am about that something will come up. It'll be okay. Like, everything will work out, and it always has. And just, you know, not worrying about the future and what might happen, or yeah. And I've met some amazing people and just gone to such amazing places. I've had a lot of coincidences, like I told you with Uzbekistan, how I was planning a trip there and then I got invited there anyway. I remember the day that I decided to move to China, which was a big deal because no one knows anything about China. Especially back then, there were no YouTubers in China. I mean, this is recently, like 3 years ago, but there weren't really travel vloggers in China, and people didn't talk about how to move to China. And you'd kind of hear things from people like, oh, you can do this in China, it's this, but it would just be so impossible to verify because you couldn't look stuff up. And it was just kind of this big mystery, or a big inside secret, that it was so great there in some ways that people didn't want to put it online, you know? So it was just this big mysterious decision, and it was very hard to get my visa. And I remember the day that I decided to definitely move to China, this company reached out to me and they were like, hey, we see that you make YouTube videos and you've never been to China. And I was like, and they were inviting me to Beijing, where I was planning to move, to travel there. And I was like, that's so weird, because I've never been contacted by anyone from China before. This just happened out of nowhere on the very day that I actually released a video. Well, I was going to release it later that night saying I'm moving to China. So I wrote to them and I was like, look, to be honest, I'm moving there. I'm not gonna, be like, yes, pay for my flights and move there on your money. But they ended up talking to me for a long time, and I actually ended up meeting the girl and like hanging out with her once I got there, and she showed me like about how to do life in China. And I think I called her once for like how to install the internet, because no English was, it was just, just this crazy coincidence that it was like, I mean, I guess it was a small result, but just positive things can come from so many different unexpected situations, especially when you're traveling.
Completely. Talk to me about, I'm sure people who are listening right now and someone wants to perhaps know that, how can they use this as work? Because, of course, we all love the idea, the fantasy of traveling and doing that. But, there is the thing of course, someone like you who has the stats of 45 million views, 550,000 followers. Um, and like you said, creating content, being consistent with it, trying to constantly improve yourself. What would you say, like, for example, right now during quarantine, you're in Texas right now. What is your process of, contacting potential sponsors or getting paid content and paid jobs? And how does that look like for you? Like, how can someone monetize this when it comes to, using this to make a living while also following their passion, following their dreams, telling stories that are meaningful?
Mm-hmm. I think first of all, just focus on your content, your voice being quality made content that you are proud of, that you put something of yourself into it, you feel has value. And then sponsors will come. Like, I have had sponsors contact me. I've never reached out to sponsors. Because there are just so many, especially in this day and age, there's so many companies that want that, and they want your voice. If they see something that really aligns with something that is in their company, then they do want to use what you have. And you have a voice even if you don't have a lot of followers, even if you have 10,000, 5,000 followers, it is still possible to work with brands. And you definitely do have to be careful. It's such a fine line, and there's not rules for what we do. So it's not like, there's a guidebook, or I don't know. I feel like, especially a few years ago, nobody really wanted to talk about it. Nobody wanted to give numbers, which now the stigma is way less. And I feel like a lot more influencers and content creators are talking about it and being open about it, which is great. Because when I started, I had no idea. Like, I had no idea, do I charge somebody $50 or $5,000? Like, there's such a huge gap, and I had no idea what to do.
It's almost like being your own marketing agency.
Yes.
Your own, which do you sometimes feel like, okay, I'm the creator, I'm the creative person, and this is the work I do, and
yeah,
and to put this other hat, because you're
mm-hmm.
literally a filmmaker, you're a storyteller, you're an on-camera personality, even though you're not on, say, CBS or something, but I'm sure that they can interview you for the work that you are doing. But you are that. You're an on-camera personality, producer, creator, editor. You're doing all of that. And then also business aspect of it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
and I love that. It's very exciting. It's very exciting to me that I have, so many different hats to wear, if you want to put it that way.
I think it's really fascinating. And I think it, like you said, that there's no guidebook. You're not going to school to learn this. You're really creating as you go. And something interesting that you were saying, that yes, to be mindful of, the type of sponsors and the stuff, and, I guess.
Yeah. If you don't feel right about a sponsor that you're getting, then it's a very tough decision of who to work with. Obviously, if you can find brands that you personally love, that you genuinely, you know, would want to share with people anyway. Like right now endorsed by a VPN company. I've used that VPN for 2.5 years. Every single day when I was in China, I used that VPN probably 10 hours a day. So when they reached out to me, I was like, yes, it's an easy yes, but it's not going to be that way with all of the companies that reach out to you. And I did recently have a company, a pretty well-known company that I like the company for website building, reach out to me, and they really wanted to do something. And I tried and tried, and I actually worked on this project for a month. It was quite highly paid, and I just never felt right about it. And I was telling my friends all the time, I was like, I feel like it's not right. Like I don't feel right about it. They want me to do a tutorial. I don't normally do a tutorial. It's just for the money. And I just didn't feel right about it. I went back and forth with them so many times, and I ended up turning it down in the end. And I was like, I'm sorry, I know that we've talked about this for like a month and you've tried to work with me. And so I feel bad, but you know, I can't do it just for the money, you know, which is something that now I am able to do, thankfully. But in the beginning, you're going to have to kind of work around difficulties like this. And something that I try to do with brands is I always try to put something of my own creative ideas into it. So it could be, you know, I've seen a lot of people make their brand integrations really funny. And I love that because it's like, that's completely theirs, you know, it's not fake. It's not like, oh, I just love this. Like, just make it your own. And then you can, I guess you could say, get away with a lot more. And you'd be surprised at how many brands are willing to work with you. And again, you don't have to have a huge amount of followers.
Yeah, that is so, so true. I mean, God knows I don't. And a lot of opportunities, and it is about content, you know, what kind of content are you creating? And I definitely want to break more into on the travel and culture side, but somehow fashion has always been so easy. And you know, like the editorial and style stories, it's interesting. I went to Cambodia last year and I stayed in this beautiful place in Siem Reap, Navutu Dreams, and I was supposed to go travel with someone, and it didn't happen. I was going through a breakup. I was supposed to go with my ex-boyfriend, and then
oh no, this is
we were going to drone and video and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And the tickets were already purchased, and he was pretty much like, good luck. And then I said, okay, something inside of me was like, I'm going to do this. So I took the camera and I just, you know, I got a tripod. I have a Fujifilm. The only thing is that it doesn't record the sound. It's the Fujifilm X-A3, but it does really nice video. I brought it to Uzbekistan. And I didn't edit it myself, but I had someone else edit it who did a big favor. But it's like, there's always ways around, you know, if you're saying, what is the solution? Am I going to be in the problem or am I going to be in the solution?
Yeah, that's good.
When I watch your work, I'm like, I want to create this kind of stuff. Like, to be honest, when I watch your work for the first time, I was like, damn, how did she get this idea? Okay, how can I copy this? I want to create this kind of content because
you're giving me too many compliments here.
It's so beautiful. It's true. It's true. We need to hear this, you know, like I'm the type of person who will, you know, I think we have to admire others' work. I think it's just so important because when you're out there, what, you know, I'm sure when you're making ends meet and stuff, things can be tough. Now, for people who have not been to, you know, who haven't traveled alone or who haven't traveled as much or are afraid of even leaving North America and going to places like Egypt, China, Uzbekistan, or Pakistan, what sort of advice would you give to them? For example, someone watches your video and gets inspired to go to China or to go to Egypt. What are the few travel tips that you could give them that they can take with them?
Well, I once heard a really good quote that I just love so much because I think it about sums it up. And it said, it'll either be a great day or a great story.
Mm.
It's like, if things go wrong, just kind of embracing that. Like in certain countries that you travel in, things are just guaranteed to kind of go wrong. Like if you get on a bus in Thailand, you just know that, the bus is going to break down or just something's going to happen. It's never just this perfect journey. And that's great. Like people love that about it, because it's just, you never know what's going to happen next. And I think that people, especially in North America, have gotten so used to just comfort is the highest, like that's, the ideal, that's the highest possible quality. And I don't think that's necessarily true. So getting outside of your comfort zone and just kind of accepting that, yeah, I might get lost in Venice. Like how terrible, right? I'm wandering around this beautiful city. Like it's just kind of embracing it.
Or the fact that they don't speak English. Not everyone in the world speaks English.
Yeah. Well, except I think in China, that's the only place, not even hello. I mean, some people, but again, people ask me, how do I travel in China with this language barrier? And it's like, just don't worry about it. Like you're going to be able to kind of get your point across, but then there'll come a point when they just don't understand. And that's okay. Like, it's really not the end of the world. It's not this big scary thing. And again, I think that people can't really wrap their minds around that. They're not used to that. They're not used to, knowing, okay, out of the hundreds of people around me, not a single person speaks English. That's very scary. It's like, it's really not that bad. Like you're going to make it, you're going to get through it. And it can bring up some really funny situations. And actually in a video I just released yesterday, like this woman came over and kind of introduced herself in a very funny way. She came and started dancing. This like 50-year-old woman, only in China situation. But anyway, we were then invited for tea with her, and they ended up doing a little photo shoot, taking nice photos of me, texted them to me, asked me, where are you traveling? How do you like China? And this is all without us speaking Chinese or them speaking English. So it's like, you just somehow communicate. Like we are humans, and there's just this basic human understanding, and that is actually so amazing to tap into. And it's really, really pronounced in China. I say in the video, like, we were somehow talking without speaking the same language. I don't know how to describe it. People in China will understand. So it's not scary. It's going to be fine.
That's so beautiful. I feel like if anyone is tuning in right now, you're listening to Life and Style with Zara on Dash Radio and Ruckus Avenue Radio, North America's #1 South Asian radio show. I feel the principles that Jordan is talking about. Jordan Taylor is a travel YouTuber whose channel name is TravelLight. She has over 550,000 followers and 45 million views. And I feel that whether someone's passion is to travel or to become a blogger or a travel blogger or a filmmaker or whatever, I feel like some of the principles that you're getting to, without quite naming them, correct me if I'm wrong, is letting go, trust, acceptance, and to get out of your comfort zone, because that's where the growth is. And to be brave and take risks.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
To take risks. It doesn't matter if you're a mom, a single mom, or a business owner, or a nurse, or, going through hardship. I feel that those are, I think that's a big part of what you shared about your story, that speaking, connecting, and communicating without speaking the same language, but we're communicating because we're humans. And I do find that because of seeing the world, seeing so many different countries and cultures, that it has opened your eyes and allowed you to see that how we are actually all the same. Doesn't matter if someone was born in Pakistan or Beijing or Uzbekistan or in Texas, that we're all humans, and there is this unity, something that brings us together. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, definitely. That is something that I have always felt so strongly, and that I really love to try and communicate in my work is, you know, as different as we might be, we all have, you know, dreams, and we all have fallen in love and been heartbroken, and everyone has a mother, father, someone they love in their life. And there's just these basic human principles and emotions and periods of your life that all of us are going through in the world, and that we can be so different but still so the same, and find so much in common with people that are from completely different cultures and backgrounds, is such an amazing experience to me, and it's so fascinating. um, I mean, wherever you go, you hear the same sorts of stories, you know, like love and a mother with her daughter, or it's just a very beautiful simplicity to it.
Wonderful. Is there anything else that you would like to tell our listeners? Anything about your journey that one particular moment that may have left a big impact on you, on your heart?
Hmm. I mean, I keep thinking of Pakistan. I was supposed to be there recently, filming season 2 of my Pakistan series. Unfortunately, it's been canceled, but I keep thinking of Pakistan, and I think it's just a great example of kind of what we've been talking about, because maybe not a lot of people in North America would even think of traveling to Pakistan. And then you go and you find people that are just so welcoming and friendly and open, and it just sounds like such a cliche, but I've never met people that are so welcoming, and just such beautiful people there. And just the feeling you get of traveling, and it's such an adventure, so beautiful. So
Did you
yeah.
enjoy the food there? I definitely missed the food.
Yes, the food is so good. I was eating so much curry and naan and drinking so much chai. Oh my gosh.
And everywhere you go, the first thing anyone asks, whether you've eaten already, do you want chai? Chai and something
Yes,
else? What do you want to eat?
I know. It's amazing. I was never turning down chai. So I was drinking, I think I one day had 17 cups of chai, because
You're, you're
everybody,
passing all
like
night.
even just shops, random people passing me by on the road would be like, chai? Be like, okay. Sometimes my friends would be saying, Jordan, you've already had a lot of chai. Like, are you sure? And like, yeah, why not?
You're so nice. They're asking you nicely, and
It's just so nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very the hospitality. Like for me,
Yeah.
even leaving Uzbekistan, and I remember, you know, they made sure that we got in, everyone got in when I said goodbye to you guys, and
Mm.
I was crying. Just the And then at the airport even more. I
Oh,
couldn't even believe my own reaction, because I think there was so much goodwill and there was so much
yeah.
warmth and love, and not even beyond the organizers, but general people. Like I remember taking one time a cab, and I just said assalamu alaikum, like hello, to the person, and he wouldn't take my money, you know.
Oh,
And I was like, no, please, I want to. Oh no, you are a sister, I will not take your money. And I'm like, please let me give you
oh, oh my
money.
gosh.
And I remember we were in Tashkent, and it was about 8 of us in a little car squeezed in. We have a little video. And someone was making like a GoPro video. It's so many beautiful memories, and
Yeah.
you know, and experiencing and living life. If anything was possible, where would you see yourself in 5 years? Like, what is your dream? You know, if anything is possible, what would you say? What would you be doing in 5 years?
In 5 years, I'm not sure. I know that I want to keep filmmaking and making videos, and I would, something that I do have in the back of my mind is that I would love to start kind of videos that are more professional. I've always said, like, I want to be the Game of Thrones of travel YouTubers. So I would love to almost incorporate different characters and in a series, and maybe have a little bit of drama, like reenacting historical moments or something like that, because I love history. Just working with a team of people, it's such a great feeling whenever I've gotten to do that. I'm traveling solo a lot, but just being able to involve more people in the vision and getting more creative insight, and just keep improving in my work and inspiring people, I hope.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're very busy. You have all these videos coming out. Make
Thank
sure to
you.
follow Jordan. My pleasure, Jordan. Make sure to follow Jordan Taylor on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter. On YouTube, her handle is TravelLight21. We'll be putting all of the information so you can follow along. Instagram, TravelLight21, Twitter, and Facebook, it's all the same, TravelLight21. Is Travel Light for traveling light, like packing light?
It is. That is why I thought of it, because I only traveled with a 30-liter backpack for 3.5 years, which is very small. It's smaller than even most backpacks. And then I got like 5 cameras, so I can't do that anymore. But a lot of people have said that they think travel light means a light, like a light to the world of inspiration or something like that. So I like that definition too.
I thought that too in the beginning, but as I was sitting here and I see your handle, I'm like, no, that's traveling light and packing that I don't know how to do at all. But, I have friends like you who inspire me. So thank you so much, Jordan, for your time and for your energy. And, everyone make sure to follow her, check out her videos, check out her beautiful films. And Jordan Taylor, once again, on Dash Radio, Ruckus Avenue, #1 South Asian radio station in North America. And we'll put all of Jordan's information so you can get in touch with her. And wishing you a very, very lovely day.
You as well, Zara. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording.